We've got a new tool to use this year racing. Still got it in the package. It is a load stick from BSB. So I've talked to Mr. J. Neal with BSB over the phone, and he's worked with me on understanding how to use this to get the benefit out of it. Let's open it up, go through it, and we're going to take a measurement, start collecting data right here in this episode on our Camaro. So let's get to it. This is the 7-inch. I think you can get this to do like a 7-inch or 9-inch. I think it's just basically the length of the adapters on it. And what we've got is we've got a control panel right here. So we've got a control panel. We've got instructions, a calibration certificate. That's important. It's rated up to 3,000 pounds. And the repeatability on it is 0.02%. That's very accurate on that. And we've got a user manual. Yeah, we're not going to read that. All right, looks like we've got an AC adapter here. And it looks like that it is battery powered. There's 3 AA batteries in here, it looks like. Yeah, 3 AA batteries in here. All right, so I'm going to pop that cover back down. All right, and we've got some ports. Yeah, I've got a plug-in on the back for DC power, and I've got a serial port, and then I've got where the load cell plugs in on it. And I'm not going to be hooking this into like a computer to collect data for a serial port right here, but you could. I don't think, you know, in racing, probably wouldn't be using that unless this was a part of a setup for like a dyno or something. I could see where maybe you have a serial port hooked up using a load cell completely differently than what we're doing on the race car here. But let's see what this thing looks like. So the S right here, this is the actual load cell. And the way these work is within here, within this metal, when it gets pushed and pulled, you know, that S, as it's getting pushed out, you know, pulled open and pushed together, that's creating an electrical current here that you're able to read. And then that's like calibrated, so like that millivolt change, you know, is getting interpreted in order for this to know how much pressure difference is happening in that push or pull right there. That's how they work. And then it's got adapters on the top and bottom, so I have got a left hand and a right hand thread end here, and this has got flats cut in it where I can take a wrench and turn it, and so it will extend out. And I don't know how far it will extend out. Let's see. Now the question is, how far can you go before you don't have enough threads there? Okay, so right there is where to quit. So let's see where that is, where it's maxed out at. All right, so that was too far at 21.5 inches. Let's see. Yeah, both of them. So it was exactly the same on both ends. All right. So the question is, that's 21.5. I know I want at least, you know, like a 1/2 inch on both ends. So that's kind of telling me that maybe I need to make sure that my max is, that was 20.5, maybe 19.5 is like my max, or 19. Make sure if I'm trying to go further than that, I know I don't have enough thread engagement. Let me drop back down. So like there's a little less than 20. Alright, so there's down at like 19. So I know I've got some good thread engagement at that point. Let me see what size that is right there. Hang on, y'all. Alright, so the wrench flats that are cut in it are 1 1/8 inch is what they are. Yep, 1 1/8. They're, ooh. The middle one is 1 1/8. It's got one on the top and the bottom, and they are 1 1/16, not 1 1/8. So probably would be fine, but there is a slight difference between them. Of course, it's 1/2 inch heim joints on there, and I don't know if Mr. J probably, I would say that he would probably, you could get them from him with different size ends on it if you needed it, but 1/2 inch is what, this is what I need, the same as my shocks is what I want. Alright, so let me plug this in. How long is that cord right there? Oh, about maybe 6 foot, which is plenty. Oh, and Y'all, it does come with a mounting bracket that, yeah, so in here with the adapter, it's got some screws that mount for the sides here, and a mounting bracket like where you could mount this on a table or on a wall or something. Probably if you're using the load cell, like I said, for like on a dyno or for some other purpose like that, that would make sense. But I'm not going to use the bracket on it because I'm going to be using this like at the track. And what I'm thinking about is maybe getting one of those small foam cutout boxes where I can remove some pieces of foam where if this drops in and the load cell drops in, that way I can just throw it with my gear in the truck when we go racing, and it'll be protected. What's brought this all about is, you know, we're running, so like the crate racing, I'm wanting to run the cool car at the, you know, like the Ultimate Street Stock Challenge races where I'm going to tracks I've never been to before. It's a multi-day event, and I want to be able to take the possible combinations of springs and stuff with me and like go to the test and tune night. A lot of times like on a Thursday night or a Friday night, you can get on the track and record your lap times and stuff and kind of figure out like how you're ranking up against everybody. And if you need to make spring changes to make the car better fit that track, this is something that I was missing for that level of competition, where that I know exactly where my setup is with the car, exactly what my load is on the spring. I can change out to a different spring and get it exactly back to where it was. And then also understanding, like, if I'm running a GoPro on the right front and I'm recording, like, say, how much compression that I've got on the track, being able to know, like, how much that is in wheel load, like, what would the load cell be when I pull it down to that number, and getting that, starting to gather that data. A lot of data collection hopefully this year with this. Now, I am going to do this right front on this Camaro, and I've never done it before. I have been coached by Mr. J kind of on how it works, but we're going to do a real simple here to start gathering and writing some data down so we can kind of figure out what it's doing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it, I have outboard high mounts on my Camaro because I've run it in classes at times that was allowed to run outboard shocks. So I've got the mounts in place. You've got to have mounts like that to use one of these. And I'm running inboard shocks that are, you know, through the middle of the spring, because we're running this car with Rachel this year in like factory stock and pure stock type classes that like make you put everything in stock location. So I've got those open. I don't have shocks in them or anything. And the car is sitting at ride height, ready to go. So I'm going to take it, I'm going to measure eye to eye what it is right now, and I'm going to try to sit this close, and then I'm going to install this with the wheel and tire and the car sitting down on the ground here, you know, and we're going to, and by the way, first, make sure it comes on, the batteries are good, hang on. And it is, and it's reading 0. And it does have a Terra 0 mode here. All right, so it's reading 0. This video wouldn't have went far if that didn't come on. I got a couple quick release for shocks here. These are the kind you just push the button in. I don't use these on my cars. I've got a lot of them that I've saved over the years, but I don't like them because they tend to let your shock kind of start moving and rattling around and stuff, and I like to bolt with a nylon stop nut my shocks. But for this, I think they're great. I think that I'm probably going to pack these in with the load cell just for this purpose. If there's a better way to do this, put it in the comments. Some of y'all are working with these load sticks already, and I am the first to tell you, help me. I'm learning, y'all. I'm learning. But hey, you know, we're going to take this journey together, so you're going to see it too. Okay. So I'm going to get that bottom in. I think this is going to get infinitely easier once I put the bottom in. All right, so I got both my pins in now, and when I got up off the car, now it's reading minus 127 pounds. Well, that's because I was leaned down on the car, you know, when I leveled it up, and so when I got off the car and the spring came up, now it's putting load into it. All right, so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to reach in here, and I'm going to turn this, and I'm going to try not to lean on the car and do this. Until I got it right in the middle. There we go. All right. So I don't realize I was leaning on the cord just a little bit. We're set up. I'm gonna take the jack. I'm gonna jack the car up and take the wheel and tire off of it. When I jack the car up, it's gonna see load, okay? So I'm gonna jack the car up. All right, so the car jacked up. So I just picked that up, and now I've got, it was 831 pounds. All right, 831 pounds. All right, so my understanding is that's how much this was carrying. Now some of this is this tire weight, and I'm gonna have to take this off because we got a video it. I want to be able to show y'all. All right. Now what did that change it? Now look, I just took 20 pounds back out of that. Now I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure that it matters. It may be that, like, however I'm doing this, I need to just make sure I'm doing it consistently. Again, I'm learning this right now, but I went from 831 to 810 when I dropped that tire off. Now, because I took 21 pounds, I guess, off of the car. And so my right front at ride height was 810, no wheel. Okay, no wheel. All right, so I wrote it down. I'm gonna turn around, come here, I wanna show, let's look at this together. All right, so this thing's tight. This spring is holding 814 pounds of load in it right now. I mean, it won't wiggle or anything. And I know that this car, when it's working well, will compress the right front 3 inches on this shock right here, which I don't run a shock here, but when I've tracked it and I've had a GoPro on it and stuff, and so I know when it works well, it does compress about 3 inches. I've got about 3.5 inches total from the lower control arm up to the frame, and it gets about 3 inches of that with about a 1/2 inch left when the car is really hooked up, turning well, working well from my past history with this car. So what I'm thinking here is from ride height, I'm going to take and I'm going to turn this until I pull it down 3 inches so that with this spring on the car, I think I've got a 1050 on the right front here to start Rachel out with. So that's a lot more spring rate. And so now I need to know, like, okay, with that spring, how much wheel load is that? Because I was coming down 3 inches on it, you know, like on a 800, an 850, and a 900. And so, like, on this 1050, I don't know what the wheel loadings was with them, but I do know how far it was compressing down. So that's that data gathering thing where I can start learning. So I'm going to turn it down. I measured it. It's 17.5 inches from the center of this pin to the center of this pin is 17.5. So I'm going to pull it down to 14.5. And I expect that my load number is going to go way up when I do that. And then we can record that. And so now we've got a baseline to start with. So let's do that. Something else I've realized is there's probably a certain number of turns that, you know, equals an inch. And I probably need to see what the thread count, if it's like 8 turns per inch, you know, then I should, you know, every time I see BSB go by 8 times, I know that's an inch. So I'll have to kind of figure all that out. Maybe just a little bit more. Let me see if I can get that turn without taking that tape out. Let's see. Yep. Okay. All right, 2163 is with it compressed 3 inches from ride height. Let me get all this off here and let's talk about that. And it did. All right, there we go. Seems to be fairly easy. I think it's going to be a lot easier for me to do this process on my cool car over here because of how that my shock mounts and everything are done on this car. It's going to be a lot easier to get to them than it is going to be on my Camaro, because I kind of added those after I had built the car and stuff. What's my thoughts on this? Well, let's see. So I took the reading, you know, when I jacked the car up, and I had 814 pounds, and then we went to 2164 when I pulled it down 3 inches, which means that 3 inches of compression on the right front added 1,350 pounds, and I'm going to say wheel load. All right? So my total wheel load, like by the load scale number, 3 inches compressed, I believe is 2164. That kind of makes sense to me. Now, I'm going to tell you, there's not a lot of information out there on YouTube and researching about using load sticks because it's new technology. But I hear a lot of people talk about wheel loads on the right front, you know, on like street stocks and IMCA modifieds and stuff of between 1,800, you know, and 2,100 and 2,200 pounds. And so here I am sitting at 2164. And so, yeah, that's kind of a number in that range, because I hear what I have been able to find, or people talking about it, you know, talking about setups and stuff, is how that, like, you know, a car may be able to hold the tire's contact patch at 22 or 2,300 pounds on a real tacky track, but you know, you need to reduce that to like 1,800 or 1,900 pounds on a track that's slicked off as far as how much the car can hold in wheel load if you're trying to get the car to reach that same attitude. And so, you know, that makes sense to me, because if I want my car to always be hiked up and the nose down to a certain position, if the track's got a lot more grip in it and I'm going a lot faster, it would take a lot more spring to do that, so the wheel loading number would be higher. But if the track slowed down and I didn't have near as much wheel, you know, as much speed in the corner holding into the car, well, then it's going to have to be a lot less spring for the car to still be rolled over that same amount. And so what I did here makes sense to me. I think that I did it the right way, but I'm looking for your help. And other people watching this are looking for your help. If you're already using one of these and you know the best way to do this compared to how I did it, hit those comments and put in there your feedback. And if you're looking for that detail and you're like me trying to find the best way to start using a load stick, go there and see what our team is putting in everything. Let's work together on this, because this right here, this is like dark art stuff that nobody's talking about, but we're going to talk about it this year. And so there's no guarantees that I did this the right way, but hopefully if I didn't, we're going to get some good comments and feedback on this. And by all means, we will put out stuff on Facebook. I will put it in upcoming videos. If I need to change something about how I'm doing this, I'm going to say so. Y'all know I am brutally honest about what we do here at Dirt Race Life. And then along with that, on our cool car, we've got new springs. We've got all kind of stuff going in our cool car for this year. So like, as we're getting the engine back in and we're getting that car set up and stuff, yeah, we're going to document everything. I'm going to show you all the details of it. Hopefully by that time, I'll be getting some feedback and we'll really be dialed in on the best way to use this thing to show you. Really appreciate it. Of course, subscribe if you're not. Hit the like button and see you next time.